Good afternoon, everyone. I was on the internet earlier looking for information on this M53 Mosin Nagant, and I've noticed it's been pronounced Nagant or Nagant, so tomato, tomato. But this Mosin here, I noticed there wasn't a lot available on it as far as information goes online, so I figured I would do a quick video, not necessarily a how-to, but almost a buyer's guide of what you may want to be looking for if you're interested in purchasing one of these weapons. I have a 9130 here, Russian version of the same rifle. This is the Chinese-made carbine variety. It was made later. So without going into any kind of like a history lesson on them, this came out first. It's the actual Russian Mosin Nagant, or Nagant, rather. A couple of things that you want to look for if you're interested in any of these weapons or you're considering purchasing one. In the early 1900s, they came out with the ammunition. These both use an 7.62 by 54R round. R does not stand for Russian, it stands for rimmed. It was the predecessor of the 7.62 by 39, the AK ammunition that's used more often today. The original ammunition, the ones that come in those spam cans that you can get like 440 rounds for, about $100 nowadays. That ammunition, especially the one in the spam cans, are corrosive primer. The bird-on primers in them tend to be corrosive depending on the country of manufacture and the time. So when you're purchasing these weapons, a couple of things that you want to look for on them, and I would recommend field stripping them in the shop where you're looking at. All you have to do to remove the bolt on one of these is lift up the charger, pull the trigger, and slide the bolt all the way out. There's a little catch right there that pulls in when you do that. Then you can look down the barrel. Now, the barrel's the first thing you want to check on these if you can. They tend to have a lot of greasy oil, I believe it's called creosote, in them, and they do that when they're transporting them, especially overseas, because of the corrosive nature of like salt water, ocean water. It's really bad on them. So they basically coat them in a layer of this nasty oil, and it always winds up in the barrel. But assuming the person that's selling it has bothered to clean it, you can look down the barrel, and what you're looking for is pit rusting, which, given the nature of the ammunition they fired on these weapons, is a significant problem, because you don't want to assume that the original person that owned this weapon actually bothered to clean it. You have to use like ammonia or special cleaners to remove that corrosive primer residue out of the weapon. Another thing that you want to check is the bolt itself. This bolt is actually in kind of rough shape. I bought it knowing that because I'd intended on using this weapon as just kind of a project to refinish it. But you're going to look for pit rusting. Now, a lot of times you'll have a little bit of surface rust, and that's not good, but it also doesn't necessarily condemn the weapon. You're looking for pit rusting, actual chunks of metal that are gone from the rust. And you want to pay particular attention to this area here because it's the portion that's most affected by the corrosive nature of the primers, as well as the inside of the chamber here and barrel. Another thing that you want to look at on these weapons to ensure that they're going to function properly for you, check the sights. There's a lot of cosmetic damage on them. That's to be expected, but you want to make sure that your sights are not... No, come on, leave the rifle alone. No. You want to ensure that the sights aren't damaged to the point where you won't be able to sight it and you'll have to replace them. The M53 carbine will have typically a factory mounted bayonet lug, and that's how that works right there. It's generally standard with them, be sure you have that. This one did not have the cleaning rod with it, so I'm going to have to replace that cleaning rod. It's something you want to consider when you're purchasing these weapons. Additionally, you want to be sure that this catch here that allows the trigger pull right here that actually fires the weapon, be sure that that's not damaged or worn down to the point where it won't properly function. That is a sore spot for them. When you're in the store, you can also pull this down. Check the spring here the spring right here, ensure that it moves smoothly and it's not damaged either. If this damaged, you're going to have a lot more problems with this chambering the rounds. Other than that, when you purchase these weapons, be sure to expect to put some time into it, cleaning it up, bringing it back up to proper functioning condition. Cat, you really need to watch that bayonet. Come on. Come on. Come on, kitty. There you go. Good girl. Because they are not typically off the shelf ready to fire. Expect to clean them. These weapons, the M53s, have a tendency to range around between $100 and $150 depending on the condition of the weapon. And then your 9130s range about $150 to $200 depending on the condition. Refinished like this, because I've gone through and I've refinished the stock and cleaned it up, it averages around $200 to $300 because of the work that's put into refinishing them. Another thing that you can check for quality and wear and tear: does the serial number on the bolt match the serial number on the receiver? If it does not, that tends to be a ding against the quality of the weapon. It lowers its value a little bit. If they are matched, it generally is a sign of less use because they didn't have to replace the bolt. It was taken care of well enough that it did not need to be replaced. Though I would not condemn a weapon simply because they didn't match. It's just something to be aware of. I'm going to refinish this weapon, bring it as close as I can to the appearance of this one here, and I'll post another video and see how it looks when that's done. Alright, thank you everyone. Have a good day.